A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, Lord.
Since the Passover of the Jews was near, Jesus went up to Jerusalem. He found in the temple area those who sold oxen, sheep, and doves, as well as the money changers seated there. He made a whip out of cords and drove them all out of the temple area with the sheep and oxen, and spilled the coins of the money changers, and overturned their tables. And to those who sold doves he said, "Take these out of here, and stop making my Father's house a marketplace." His disciples recalled the words of Scripture, "Zeal for your house will consume me." At this the Jews answered and said to him, "What sign can you show us for doing this?" Jesus answered and said to them, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." The Jews said, "This temple has been under construction for over 46 years, and you will raise it up in 3 days?" But he was speaking about the temple of his body. Therefore, when he was raised from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this, and they came to believe the Scripture and the word that Jesus had spoken. While he was in Jerusalem for the feast of Passover, many began to believe in his name when they saw the signs he was doing. But Jesus would not trust himself to them because he knew them all, and did not need anyone to testify about human nature. He himself understood it well. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
In the church in Japan, there are probably 3 or 4 different celebrations throughout the year that are most important. Without a doubt, the first one is Christmas, or particularly Christmas Eve. Since December 25th is a work day and a school day in Japan, everybody comes to church on Christmas Eve and they have a nice party after Mass. So that would probably be first. The second would be the Feast of the Assumption. That's because August 15th is the day that St. Francis Xavier, who brought Christianity to the Japanese archipelago, landed in Japan on August 15th. It's also the commemoration of the end of World War II, when Japan surrendered, and they surrendered on August 15th. The third is probably, and this is different for each parish, the church bazaar. You gotta have a bazaar in your church. And they spend months and months and months organizing this bazaar. It's kind of like a very small, scaled-down version of a parish festival here in the States. And it takes place like in the lobby of the church and in the parking lot. The first parish I was at in Japan had a parking lot that fit 6 cars. The second parish I was at, and this is where I was first pastor and I was the longest, had a place that fit 8 or 9 cars. In fact, in that parish, this is the last. The last one, once again, had a place for 6 or 7 cars. But that parish was smart. They scheduled their Mass times according to when the supermarket down the street opened up, because they had a huge parking garage. So the supermarket on Sundays opened up at 10. Our Sunday Mass, our second Sunday Mass, was at 10:30. So you could park there, come to Mass, go buy 1,000 yen worth of groceries, which is about $12, get your parking lot sticker stamped, and you parked for free for Mass. Anyways, the bazaar was so important. They would sell a few different kinds of foods. You know, there was usually 1 or 2 different ethnic groups in the parish, so the Vietnamese or the Filipinos or the Peruvians would have their food. There was a huge rummage sale of junk that people didn't want anymore, and they were trying to sell it, as most rummage sales are. And it lasted, and then in the parking lot that was a little bit bigger, we even had games for children. And I always considered the fact that it was most important to bring the parish together, to work together, rather than any money that we made on it. But inevitably, one or two people would come up to me saying, "Father, Jesus threw the money changers and the sellers out of the temple. Why are we doing this in church?" And then again, I would have to explain to them year and year and again. In fact, sometimes I would use it as my sermon. Jesus wasn't upset because they were exchanging money. The people that were coming to Jerusalem, to the temple for Passover, were coming from different countries. So they needed to exchange their money because they needed to buy things. They were doing, the money changers were doing a service. The people that were selling animals, when you came to Jerusalem, what did you have to do? You had to give a sacrifice, offer a sacrifice of a live animal to God. And so you had to either bring this animal with you for days, walking from your village or wherever you came from, or you bought it on the outskirts of the temple. The problem is that the people who were exchanging money and the people who were selling the animals were not being honest. They were taking advantage of the people who came, we could say, on pilgrimage to Jerusalem. They were taking advantage. They were not giving a fair rate of exchange. They were charging them too much for the doves or for the pigeons or for the animals that were being sacrificed. And that's what made Jesus upset. You don't take advantage. You be honest. The season of Lent tells us to be honest. First of all, be honest with yourself. You know, and as I said at the beginning of Mass, sometimes it's hard for us to admit that we're sinners. It's hard to admit to ourselves what we've done wrong. And so we kind of hide it, even from ourselves. No, that's we put it in the back of our mind. Today's first reading is the Ten Commandments. And that's not the exhaustive list of sins. There are many, many, many more sins that we can commit other than those thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not that we hear today. Now, thou shalt not kill. I don't think there's any of you here, perhaps, that have killed anybody. But the way you treat one another, you've killed reputations, perhaps. You've killed someone's spirit or someone's personality, or their, by harsh words, or by criticism, or whatever it may be. Jesus kind of completes the Ten Commandments with the Beatitudes in the New Testament, in the Gospels. He's not so negative, first of all. The God of the Old Testament, as we know, was a little bit more vengeful God, and so it's do not, do that, thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. But in the New Testament, Jesus says, blessed are the meek, blessed are the humble, blessed are those who work for peace among the brothers and sisters, blessed are those who are sorrowful. We probably don't consider ourselves as blessed either. But that's what the season of Lent is about. It's about turning from our sinfulness, acknowledging our sinfulness, acknowledging the fact that, yes, we've messed up. Yes, we do things wrong. Yes, our attitude or our way of living or whatever it is wrong. And God doesn't like it, and we shouldn't like it either. And then we turn to God, asking for mercy and forgiveness, knowing that God will forgive us. Sometimes that's a bad thing because we do it because we know, well, I'll just be forgiven anyways. That's the attitude that we don't want to have. But we want to grow into not only we shall not, thou shalt not, but into the attitude of blessed are. That we too, at the end of this Lenten season, as we celebrate Easter, can consider ourselves blessed, one of the blessed of God.